Hello, it's Sunday, and Sunday means we read from The Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum. You remember last time they visited the wizard, and the wizard told them to kill the witch if they wanted their wishes granted. So let's continue here. Chapter 10. This is a very exciting chapter. The Search for the Wicked Witch. Dorothy and her friends were led to the gates of the Emerald City. The guardian of the gate removed their green glasses and put them back in the green box. He wished them good luck and reminded Dorothy that the Wicked Witch was a very mean and would try to make them her slaves. After they had said goodbye to the guardian of the gate, they began to walk towards the west. Soon the hot sun made Dorothy and the lion very tired. They lay down on the cool grass and fell asleep, while the Tin Man and the Scarecrow kept watch. While Dorothy and the lion were sleeping, the Wicked Witch of the West was watching them. She had one eye, but it was as powerful as a telescope, and she could see everything. So, as she sat by the door of her castle, she happened to look around, and she saw Dorothy lying asleep with her friends beside her. The Wicked Witch was angry to find them in her country. She blew on a silver whistle that hung around her neck. In a few seconds, a pack of wolves came running to her. They had long legs and fierce eyes and sharp teeth. "Go to these people," she said, the witch, "and tear them to pieces." "Aren't you going to make them your slaves?" asked the leader of the wolves. "No," answered the Wicked Witch. "One is made of tin, one is made of straw, and one is a little girl, and one is a lion. None of them is fit to work, so you may tear them to pieces." "Very well," said the wolf, and he dashed away at full speed with the rest of the pack. But the Scarecrow and the Tin Man were wide awake, and they heard the wolves coming. The Tin Man grabbed his axe, and as the leader of the wolves ran towards him, he swung his arm and chopped off the wolf's head. As soon as each wolf came close, he killed it with his sharp axe. Soon 40 wolves lay dead in a great heap. When the Wicked Witch saw what the Tin Man had done, she became even angrier than before. So she blew her silver whistle twice. In a few minutes, a great flock of wild crows came flying towards her. The Wicked Witch said to the King Crow, "Fly at once to the strangers and peck out their eyes and tear them to pieces." The wild crows flew towards Dorothy and her friends. When she saw them coming, Dorothy was afraid, but the Scarecrow said, "This is my battle. Lie down beside me and you will be safe." So everyone but the Scarecrow lay down on the ground. The Scarecrow stood up and stretched out his arms. When the crows saw him, they were frightened and did not dare to come any closer. But the King Crow said, "It is only a stuffed man. I will peck his eyes out." The King Crow flew at the Scarecrow, who caught it by the head and twisted its neck until it was dead. As each crow flew at the Scarecrow, he twisted its neck. Soon there were 40 crows laying dead beside him. When the Wicked Witch saw all her crows lying in a heap, she went into a terrible rage and blew her silver whistle 3 times. This time a great swarm of bees came flying to her. The Wicked Witch told the bees to sting Dorothy and her friends to death. But the Scarecrow saw the bees coming. He scattered his straw over Dorothy, Toto, and the lion. This way the bees flew at the Tin Man, and their stingers broke off against the tin. The Tin Man was not hurt, but all the bees died. Their bodies lay scattered in the field. The wicked witch was so angry when she saw her bees lying in little heaps, and she stamped her foot and tore her hair and gnashed her teeth. Then she called a dozen of her slaves, who were the Winkies, and gave them sharp spears. She told them to find the strangers and destroy them. The Winkies were not brave people, but they had to obey the wicked witch, so they marched away. When the lion saw them coming, he gave a great roar. The poor Winkies were so frightened that they ran away as fast as they could. When the wicked witch saw what had happened, she made up her mind how to act. She went to the cupboard and took out her golden cap. This cap had a very special charm. Whoever owned it could call 3 times upon the winged monkeys. These creatures would obey any order they were given, but no one could command the winged monkeys more than 3 times. The wicked witch had used the charm of the cap twice before, so this was her last wish. She put the golden cap on her head and stood on her left foot. She recited a secret charm. Soon the sky darkened and a low rumbling sound could be heard. In a few minutes, the witch was surrounded by a crowd of monkeys with huge and powerful wings on their shoulders. The wicked witch ordered the winged monkeys to destroy the strangers except for the lion. She wanted him brought to her so she could make him her slave. "Your command shall be obeyed," said the leader, when the winged monkeys flew away. When they found the Tin Man, the monkeys grabbed him and carried him through the air. When they were over some sharp, pointed rocks, they dropped the poor Tin Man. He fell a great distance on the rocks, where he lay so battered and dented that he couldn't move. The rest of the monkeys caught the Scarecrow, and with their long fingers pulled all the straw out of his clothes and out of his head. They made his hat and boots and clothes into a small bundle and threw it on the top of the branches of a tall tree. After they had done this, the monkeys threw pieces of rope around the lion and wound many coils around his body and head and legs. When they were sure he was unable to bite or scratch, they lifted him up and flew away with him to the witch's castle. At the castle, he was placed in a small yard with a high iron fence, so that he could not escape. But Dorothy was not harmed at all. She stood with Toto in her arms and watched what the monkeys did to her friends. The leader of the winged monkeys flew up to her, his long hairy arms stretched out, and his ugly face grinned terribly. But when he saw the mark of the good witch's kiss on her forehead, he stopped short and motioned the others not to touch her. "We dare not harm this little girl," he said, "for she is protected by the power of good, and that is greater than the power of evil. All we can do is carry her to the castle of the wicked witch and leave her there." So they carefully lifted Dorothy in their arms and carried her to the castle. The wicked witch was surprised and worried when she saw the mark on Dorothy's forehead. She knew that she could not hurt the girl in any way. When she saw Dorothy's silver slippers, she began to tremble in fear, for she knew what a powerful charm belonged to them. But the wicked witch was also very clever. She knew that Dorothy did not know the true power of the silver slippers. So the wicked witch laughed to herself and thought, "I can still make her my slave, for she does not know how to use her power." Then she said to Dorothy, "Come with me, and see that you mind everything I tell you, for if you do not, I will make an end of you, and as I did of the Tin Man and the Scarecrow." The witch led Dorothy through the castle until they came to a kitchen. Here, the witch made Dorothy clean the pots and the pans, sweep the floor, and feed the fire with heavy logs. While Dorothy was hard at work, the witch would go into the courtyard and harness the lion like a horse. She wanted the lion to pull her cart and take her wherever she wished to go. But as she opened the gate, the lion gave a great roar and bounded at her so fiercely that the witch was afraid and ran out and shut the gate again. "If I cannot harness you," said the witch, "I can starve you. You shall have nothing to eat until you do as I wish." So after that, she took no food to the imprisoned lion. Every day, she came to the gate at noon and asked, "Are you ready to be harnessed like a horse?" And the lion would answer, "No, if you come in this yard, I will bite you." The reason the lion did not have to do as the witch wished was that every night, while the witch was asleep, Dorothy carried him food from the cupboard. After he ate, Dorothy would sit beside him, and they would talk of their troubles and try to plan a way to escape. But they could not find a way to get out of her castle, for it was always guarded by the yellow Winkies, who were her slaves, and too afraid of her not to do as she ordered. Dorothy worked very hard during the day, and her life became very sad. She knew it would be difficult to return to Kansas. Sometimes she held little Toto in her arms and cried bitterly. Now the wicked witch had a great longing to own Dorothy's silver shoes. She knew the power of these shoes would make her more evil and feared than she already was. She watched Dorothy carefully to see if she ever took off her shoes, thinking she might steal them. But Dorothy only removed them when she took a bath at night. The witch was too afraid of the dark to dare enter Dorothy's room at night to take the shoes. And her fear of water was even greater than her fear of the dark. So she never came near when Dorothy took her bath. The old witch never touched water and never let water touch her in any way. But the wicked witch was very clever, and she finally thought of a trick so that she could get Dorothy's silver shoes. She placed an iron bar in the middle of the kitchen floor. Then she used her magic to make the bar invisible. In this way, she knew Dorothy would trip over the bar and lose her shoes. But when Dorothy tripped over the invisible bar, she only lost one shoe. The witch quickly snatched it and put it on her own foot. When Dorothy saw what had happened, she grew very angry and said, "Give me back my shoe!" "I will not," laughed the witch. "Now it is my shoe, not yours, and someday I shall get the other one from you too." This made Dorothy so angry that she picked up a bucket of water and she threw it on the witch. Instantly, the witch gave a loud scream, and then, as Dorothy looked in wonder, the witch began to shrink and melt away. "See what you have done!" she screamed. "In a minute I shall melt away." I'm very sorry, said Dorothy, who was truly frightened to see the witch melting away like brown sugar. In a few minutes, the witch turned into a brown, melted, shapeless mass and began to spread all over the kitchen floor. All that was left of the witch was the silver shoe. Dorothy picked it up, cleaned it, and put it back on her own foot. Then, being free at last, Dorothy ran out to the courtyard to tell the lion what the Wicked Witch of the West had come to an end. Oh, that the Wicked Witch had come to an end. And that they were no longer prisoners in a strange land. We'll continue this next Sunday.